Hi, I'm David Maldo, and in this video, I'm going to bring up the view from 4 different webcams so that you can compare them side by side. This is one of a series of videos comparing over a dozen webcams. We're doing them in a round robin so you can see each of them in a head-to-head. Before we get started, a quick disclaimer. Logitech has sponsored this series of videos. However, they asked me to keep it neutral. I'm not going to share any of my own opinions. I'm just going to show it to you and let you see for yourselves. As part of keeping things fair, I'm leaving all the cameras on their default settings. Usually I like to tweak the brightness, the contrast, to try to optimize things, but I don't want to subconsciously bias anything in favor of one camera over another, so I'm just going to leave everything on their defaults. Okay, so let's bring up our 4 cameras. In this video, we're going to compare the Logitech Brio, the Logitech C920, the N5, available from a variety of vendors, and the AVerMedia Cam 313. The first thing I always look at is what we in the industry call the aspect ratio. It's basically the shape of the window that we're in. All 4 of these cameras are a 16:9 aspect ratio. That just means for every 16 pixels across, there's 9 going up and down. The result is this familiar rectangular shape, which is exactly what most video call software is looking for, so we're good to go. Related to our aspect ratio is our field of view. Basically, how wide is the view? How much of the room is it capturing? If I had a colleague sitting next to me, could they be on the camera with me? If I talk with my hands, how much can I really talk with my hands? The next thing I look at is what I call distortion, which is basically checking to make sure our straight lines stay straight. To be fair, these cameras are doing a pretty tough job. They're trying to focus in on my face and capture the room. So inevitably, there'll be some bit of curvature around the edges, but we don't want it to be too bad. So to give you something to judge by, I've tried to include a lot of straight lines behind me. This cabinet has it's very straight. The guitar neck should all be straight. The bars holding up the green screen should be straight. And just judge for yourself how straight they are. The next thing we're going to look at is color. And again, you could always go into your settings and sort of tweak the way things look, but here we're just going with our defaults. So I've tried to put a lot of color behind me. I went through the house and tried to find one of almost every color. We got some purple, some orange, some red, some green, some blue. So you can take a look and see how the colors look to you. When we're looking at color, there's 2 things to keep in mind. One is just generally, do the colors look nice to you? But perhaps more important is, do the colors look right? Unless you've been in my office, you don't know exactly what shade of blue my wall is. So this blue might look great to you, but is it a good reflection of the actual color of my office? So that's why I included the Coca-Cola box here. I figure that's a red we all know, so you can see if it looks right to you. The next thing we're going to look at is exposure, which is how well the cameras handle light. Like most people, I don't have ideal lighting in my home office. I have decent lighting. I have a few bright lights on my face, maybe a little too close, a little too bright, so I might be overexposed. And I have a lot of shadows just all over the place. So I guess it's a fair test. It's just not optimal lighting. So take a look in how well are the cameras dealing with my less than perfect lighting. The next thing we want to look at is the clarity or the detail of the image. Generally with webcams, that's defined by the resolution. Basically, the more pixels on the screen, the more points of light on the screen, the more detail that you have. These cameras are all running at 1080p resolution, and I consider anything over 720p resolution to be high definition. So these are all definitely high definition cameras. I should note that the Logitech Brio is actually capable of 4K resolution, which is even higher. I have it running at 1080p because I record my YouTube videos at 1080p. Even though very few video call services support 4K, it's still nice because with so many pixels on the screen, you could zoom in with a 4K camera and still be at 1080p. The last thing we're going to test is the audio. All 4 of these webcams have an internal microphone. Now, up to now, I've been using this Logitech Zone headset just to keep it neutral between the cameras, but I'm going to switch to each of the camera's microphones in turn. In order to make this a real-world test, we're going to add a couple things. One I already have going, white noise. I have a very loud air conditioner, and my fans on my computer are just humming away. The other is some crowd noise, so if we're working in a public area or if we have some rude coworkers, so you should hear that file. And what I'm going to do is, let me turn it off, I'm going to actually play it on my phone to see if the webcams pick it up. I'm playing it right now. This headset's probably not picking up. It's not supposed to, but let's see how the webcams do with it. You're now hearing me through the Logitech Brio, so how do you think I sound? If we were in a video meeting, would you be able to understand me and work with me? How is it dealing with my background noise? Do you hear my fans, my computer humming away? And let's play our little crowd. If all of a sudden my coworkers get rude, can you still understand me? Can you still make out what I'm saying? And as long as we're here and give you a few more seconds to hear the audio, let's take a closer look at everything we've talked about so far. So what do you think about our field of view, our space? Can I talk with my hands? How is our distortion? Are our straight lines straight? My cabinet there? How does our color look? Our Coca-Cola red? How's our exposure? How are we dealing with the less than optimal lighting and all my shadows? And finally, the sharpness, the detail. Look at all the lines, the details of everything on the wall behind me, and decide what you think. And with that, let's go on to the next camera. You're now hearing me through the Logitech C920. And again, just subjectively, how do I sound to you? If we were in a meeting, could you make out what I'm saying? How is it dealing with my background noise? Do you hear my air conditioners and my fans? Let's bring up our rude workers. All of a sudden, they just walk into my office and start talking. Can we still get some work done? And as long as we're here, let's go over everything else we've discussed so far. What do you think about the field of view? Can I talk with my hands? How are our straight lines, my guitar necks, our cabinet, our color, Coca-Cola red? The exposure, how well is it dealing with my too much lighting in some places, not enough in other places? And finally, the resolution, the detail, the sharpness, the little lines and things in the background. And with that, let's go on to our next camera. You're now hearing me through the N5's microphone. And again, subjectively, how do I sound to you? How are we dealing with our background noises, my air conditioning, my fans? Let's have our co-workers, again, come into the office and see if they can talk over me, if you can still make out what I'm saying. And while we're here, let's go over everything else, our field of view, talking with our hands, our distortion, our straight lines, our color, Coca-Cola red, exposure, dealing with too much light in some places, not enough in other places, and finally the sharpness, details, the clarity of the things on the wall behind me. And with that, let's go to our last camera. Okay, you're now hearing me through the AVerMedia Cam 313. And again, subjectively, how do I sound to you? If we were in a meeting together, could we get some work done? How is it dealing with the background noise, my air conditioning, my loud fans? Let's bring up our rude coworkers. They come into the room and start talking. Can you still make out what I'm saying over what they're saying? And as long as we're here, let's check out everything we've talked about so far. Our field of view, can I talk with my hands? Our straight lines, how do the guitar necks, the cabinets look? Color, our Coca-Cola red. Exposure, dealing with lighting and shadows. And finally, the sharpness, the level of detail, the clarity of the items in the background. Now, obviously, audio is pretty subjective, but you know what sounds good to you. And keep in mind, this is for business meetings. If you're in a meeting with me for an hour, you don't want to be straining to try to understand what I'm saying. It should be natural. Ideally, it should sound like we're in the same room together. So that wraps up this video. I hope you check out the rest of the videos in this series so you can see all the head-to-head matchups, and I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching.